Audio recording for this meeting has begun.
Hello, and welcome to today's teleconference. At this time, we are currently waiting for all the participants to arrive. Thank you for your patience, and please continue to hold.
Good afternoon from the AFC headquarters located in the Washington, D.C. area. We're going to get started in just a few moments, but we're going to give it a couple minutes so that a couple of other folks can hop on. Thank you. Once again, good afternoon from the Washington, D.C. area, AFC headquarters. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining the Expense Report Refresher Training. Before we get started, there are a few administrative items to note. The updated Deltek Expense Report user screen is available for download in the upper left corner of your screen. If you'd like to ask a question during the session, please type it in the Q&A box that is on the bottom left of your screen. We will try to answer as many as possible. Please note we are also compiling questions from the trainings and will be developing an updated FAQ document that will be shared with everyone. If you need to enlarge your presentation screen, there's a button with 4 arrows on the upper right corner of the shared screen. By clicking that button, you can go into full screen viewing mode. For the best audio quality, we recommend dialing in directly via phone. The number can be found on the left of your screen. Your time spent doing expense training should be charged to your overhead labor charge code. If your work site is an AFSCME office, please select the AFSCME site option. If your work site is any other location, please select Customer Site. Please note, we are aware of a number of issues and challenges being experienced by supervisors and staff, inclusive of, but not limited to, missing charge type options, missing indirect and labor expense type options, missing receipt attachment options for certain expense types, missing expense categories for cell phone and data reimbursement. Please know we are actively working with our consultants to correct these design issues and others as they arise. We would like to request your continued patience and assistance in identifying any challenges you may be experiencing by continuing to submit requests through Costpoint Help at afsc.com for Costpoint errors or questions, and Get Expense Report at afsc.com for expense report process questions. Though we are currently experiencing a high volume of inquiries and requests, please be assured we are working to address each of them. With the completion of this Costpoint transition, we are pleased to announce that we are no longer in a blackout period and that the expense report processing cycle has now resumed as according to normal weekly operations. We would like to request all employees aim to submit any remaining 2017 expenses no later than Wednesday, January 31st. However, with the noted system challenges, the final deadline is currently postponed. Our expense report team will work directly with affected employees to ensure expenses can be correctly entered and captured. Without further ado, I'd now like to introduce Ms. Samantha Dean for today's expense report refresher presentation.
Hi everyone, my name is Sam, and I am on the expense reporting team at AFSCME corporate headquarters, and we're going to go through a few different types of expense reports today. We're going to do a normal TDY type expense report, a mileage log, and a cell phone expense report. So we're going to start with login, and to log in, your username will be 47161.a.youremployee.id. And then you'll put in your password. And the system will be Magellan Health Config. Once you log in, you'll click on Time and Expense, Expense Reports, and then Manage Expense Report. When you first log in, it'll bring up your most recent expense report that you've been working on. I'm going to start a new one. So for this first one, I'm going to enter test for my description and enter in the dates here. Go back so that I don't miss that. Also make sure that you enter in a purpose as well on your purpose tab. After you fill out this form, and make sure that you have the description, the expense report type. For TDY type trips, you will choose the all expenses, travel, non-travel expense report type. Ensure that you have the dates correctly entered and a purpose. From there, you'll click on the locations tab and start entering in your locations by first going to the country. And you can either start finding the country that you were in by typing it in, or you can look it up by scrolling through the selection menu after you click on the magnifying glass. For this example, I'm going to have more than one location for my hypothetical trip. So I'm going to come up here to this top area and click on the New button. And And then I'll do the same thing, and I'm going to enter in Vancouver, Canada. Once you've completed entering in your locations for multiple locations, you can then change the dates. So I'm going to change Seattle to the 4th, and the 5th, and the 6th for Vancouver. Once you've completed ensuring that all of your dates are correct on your locations, you can move on to the Default Charges tab. From there, you'll click in the charge box on the magnifying glass and select Direct Project. For example, I'm going to use the Navy code. Ordinarily, you will only have access to one charge code in your system. It should only correspond to projects or contracts that you do work for. Once you've completed all of the tabs under Manage Expense Report, click Save and Continue to save what you've already done. The system will let you know whether or not your save was successful by showing you the message below at the bottom of your screen, which says Record Modification Successfully Completed. From there, you can add expenses to your expense report. So for this first expense, I'm going to add an airfare. So to find that, you'll click in the category box and select transportation. Then for expense type, you can select airfare. It will then load with the dates of your trip and the expense date as well. Then you go to the Amount tab and enter in the amount in the expense incurred box. Once you've entered in the amount, be sure that if your flight was company paid, that you select company paid under payment method. You do this by clicking in the payment method box and then selecting company paid. Once you've ensured that everything on this amount tab is correct, click on Charge Allocations under Ceiling. And for me, it already is showing Airfare Ferry Rail Billable. But if it doesn't have anything in the charge type box, you'll click on the magnifying glass here and select Airfare Ferry Rail Billable. From there, I'm going to click Save and Continue so that I don't lose my work. Then to add additional expenses, you'll go to the Claim Expenses bar and click on New. So for the next expense, we're going to add in per diem meals. So you'll click on the category magnifying glass again, and then click on meals to select it. For expense type, you'll click on per diem meals after opening the window. Because I was in multiple locations, I'm going to need to select the location in the location box here, and I'll click on the magnifying glass again and select the location that I want to put in my meals for. Then, to select the meals that I'm claiming, I will go to the Meal Detail tab. For dates that I was not in Vancouver and I was in Seattle, it will show me red X's, so I shouldn't claim meals for those days. For the days that I was in Vancouver and I should claim meals for the days I was in that location, it will give you arrows. So select all of the meals for a particular day. You can check the box in the select column. Once you've completed that, it shows you up the top how much your per diem meals will be reimbursed. And then under charge allocations under ceiling, be sure that per diem meals billable is selected. Going to click Save and Continue to save my changes each time. The Meal Detail tab won't actually let you add a new expense when you're looking at it, so you can click on the Details tab and then select New to add another expense. I'm going to add in lodging now. So I will select lodging for the category, and then for expense type, also select lodging. Again, because I was in two separate places, I'll have to choose a location. At the bottom of the claimed expenses box, it also will show you the per diem rates for a particular location. So if you click on that, it will give you the max lodging rate as well as the meal breakdown of your per diem meals allowance. And then to enter in the rest of your lodging expenses, you'll click on room rates first. And again, it's going to have X's for dates that I was not in a particular location and arrows for the days that I should be entering in expenses for a particular location. So in this case, the night I spent in Vancouver is the only one available. So you'll just click in the box of the Excel spreadsheet of the day that you want to enter in your expenses for that night. And then at the bottom right-hand corner, it will show you the total that you've spent on your lodging for a particular location. And then you'll use the total that it gives you for the room rates tab and enter it on the amount tab in the expense incurred box. I think it was one. Yeah. And then once again, you'll click on charge allocations under ceiling. And if the charge type box is blank, you'll click on the magnifying glass and then select lodging billable. While we're on foreign lodging currency conversion, I wanted to remind everybody that we are encouraging everybody to use awanda.com for any of their conversion rates so that we have consistency between the field and our corporate headquarters when we're calculating conversions. This way it prevents any confusion or holdup when we are trying to process expense reports. When you're converting your expenses, be sure that you are using the conversion rate for the day that the expense was incurred. So if you stay multiple nights at a hotel in a foreign country and used foreign currency, the day that you checked out and paid, you'll use that day to convert the cost of your hotel. Right now, we're going to take a break for some questions.
So leading off of Sam was talking about for international travel and currencies. Everything that gets entered into the Deltek system needs to be in US dollars. So as backup documentation, if you have utilized a certain conversion rate, we request that you capture, whether you use Owanda or whatever rate that you're capturing for that day of expense, is that you capture that conversion rate so that our team can help calculate that. So please include that as part of your documentation when you include your receipts so we can understand how you got to your US dollar amounts converted, in this example from Canadian dollars. We had a question about the use of company paid. I believe, so any of the company paid options are only going to be utilized for airfare, lodging, and booking fees if it utilizes the company paid option through the business travel account, and any other expense should not be utilized for the company. It should still be listed as employee paid. We have one more question at this time. If we have already submitted a report, but it doesn't seem to have been approved, will we be getting more detail about what is incorrect or missing? I do want to reiterate, we have been in a blackout period up until this week, so if you haven't seen your expense report move forward from processing, it's likely because we have just begun the process of paying these out. However, if you notice that it is pending on your supervisor or the business office level, those are the folks that you need to reach out to. If our team sees anything incorrect and it's pending on the business office line, we will be reaching out to you directly to let you know what needs to be corrected in the system. All right, those are all the questions we have right now. We will take another break after Sam has covered some of our other expense types.
So now that I've finished this expense report, in order to add receipts, I'm going to first submit the expense report. You can find that button in the Purpose tab under Manage Expense Report and click the Submit button. Not sure why it's doing that. Okay. Try again. It'll give you a pop-up window that's very similar to the message that you got in the legacy Deltek system. Then you'll click OK, and that's like signing your expense report. Then to add your receipts, you'll click on the workflow link in the bottom right-hand corner of the Manage Expense Report box. This will give you an Excel spreadsheet of what still needs to be completed on your expense report still. So to add your receipts, you will click on the line that says Employee Attach Attachment. Then you will click on the Upload Attachment File button. From there, you can browse your computer for the correct file that you're looking for, and then click Upload. If you have multiple lines on your expense report that require receipts, but all of your receipts are still in a single PDF file, you can add your receipts to each line by holding down the Control key and clicking on each line. For your awareness, if any attachment line says pending, the system will not allow your supervisor or the business office to approve your expense report. So make sure when you're submitting your expense report that each receipt line where it says Employee Attach Attachment has the status of completed. So now this expense report is complete and I'm just waiting for a supervisor to approve it. We're going to move on to another expense report type, and we're going to cover monthly mileage log. So I'm going to start with my description again. And then in the expense report type, I'll click on the magnifying glass and select monthly mileage. The monthly mileage log, or the monthly mileage expense report type, right now only includes mileage expenses. So if you have parking expenses or toll expenses to be included with that, you will need to use the all expenses expense report type. So I'm going to put in the dates for the month that I'm expensing the mileage. And enter in a purpose as well. The monthly mileage expense report type also doesn't require you to enter in a location because we realize that you're traveling to multiple locations throughout the month, and it's assumed that you're starting at either your home or your work site. So then you'll click on the Default Charges tab to enter in your charge code. Use the magnifying glass to find your project. You'll click on the plus sign next to Direct Project, and you will only have one project to choose from. I have a few because I'm testing. And then click Select to be sure that it enters into the line, and it'll have a description. Once you've completed this, you can enter in your mileage expenses. So for category, you'll click on the magnifying glass and select monthly mileage. It's the only option available. And then the only option available for the expense type is mileage. Then you'll click on the Details Other tab to enter in your mileage for the month. Don't enter anything into the personal miles box, as this will, I don't know how to say it, as it'll negate the amount of mileage you've already entered, and you will not be reimbursed for the miles that you enter in there if it does not get changed. On the Amount tab, it'll show you the amount that you're to be reimbursed for your mileage. Then you'll click on the Charge Allocations under Ceiling button, and in the Charge Type box, you'll click on the magnifying glass and select Mileage Billable. Once you've completed all of these steps, you save and continue your report. From there, since I don't have any other dates of mileage to add, I'm going to submit the expense report, and you do this by clicking the Submit button in the Purpose tab in the bottom left, and then click OK. Once you've done that, you can add your mileage log to your expense report. You do this the same way that you add receipts. So you click on the Workflow button in the bottom right-hand corner of the Manage Expense Report box. From there, you find the line that says Employee Attach Attachment. In this case, it's going to say mileage log instead of expense receipt. Then click on the Upload Attachment File button in the bottom right-hand area of the box, and then it will bring up the Browse function again. And then click Upload to upload your receipt. And then you can be sure that your receipt has been successfully uploaded by checking the line that says Employee Attach Attachment, and if the status says completed, then it's then your receipt or your mileage log has been successfully uploaded to the system.
We're going to break for questions really quickly. One of the questions we received is how do we indicate which currency converter that we're using? Should we put it in the comment section? We're going to reintroduce once again awanda.com. We'll send in the link once more. That is the resource that our team utilizes to double check to ensure that the currency rates are accurate. You do not need to enter anything in the comment section unless you would like to. What we usually look for is in the backup documentation, if with the receipts you can provide a screenshot or a printout of whatever conversion website you're utilizing, just so that we have a reference and know how to look back at where you got your numbers. So again, if you just include that as a receipt within your receipt documentation, that would be very helpful. The next question is, how do we upload documents that are not receipts but TA approvals? There is not going to be an individual line necessarily for travel authorizations or for post-travel reports as well. What we would encourage you to do is include it within the entire package. So whether it's to one type of expense or whether it is all in one document, including all the receipts, our team will double check to ensure that all those forms that are necessary for your contract have been captured and double checked. We have a couple of questions regarding mileage, and before we go a little further into that, I do want to clarify there are two different types of mileages that we'll see in the system. The one that Sam just went through is because we have several contracts within the organization that submit monthly mileages, and with that they're required to submit a log that goes hand in hand with that. If you are submitting a monthly mileage, that is the expense report type that you should be selecting opposed to the travel, non-travel reports. If you are submitting mileage that is a part of long-distance travel, TDY, or if it is a mileage that includes parking and tolls, then you will go through the travel, non-travel expense report type. The one thing that we are trying to work with our consultants right now is getting the added capability of including receipts on that. For the time being, if you have any issues with that, please send an email to getexpensereport@assc.com, and we'll confirm back with you when that has been an added capability. There is a question asking about for monthly mileage is as to whether they should enter on the first or last day of the month, the first day that we traveled or the last day of the month. For any contract requirements, for example, in monthly mileages or whether it is long-distance travel, all the contract requirements are staying the very same as it was in the legacy system. So if you had requirements to submit it on a specific day, that does not change. The only thing that has changed in this new Costpoint system is where you're inputting the information. Everything else should stay the same. If there are other requirements that your contract has, your PM should be able to point you in the right direction. Those are all the questions that we have at this time.
Okay. So we're going to go over one more type of expense report, and this is going to be a monthly cell phone stipend expense report. So I'm going to start a new expense report by clicking the new button across from Manage Expense Report. I'm going to enter in a description, and then because this is not a travel-related expense, I will select the non-travel expenses expense report type by clicking on the magnifying glass in the type box. From there, I will change the dates to my cell phone bill. That one's already claimed. And then make sure you also enter something in the purpose box. For non-travel expense report types, it will also not require you to enter in a location, because you won't be claiming per diem, so the system will not have to calculate that for you. So once you've completed the Purpose tab, you'll click on the Default Charges tab. To find your project, you'll click on the magnifying glass and then on Direct Project. And then you will click on the plus sign next to your contract. And then if you are expensing a cell phone, cell phones generally go to the FFP code or the labor code for a contract. Most of the time, this is going to end in .01. Once you've completed that, you can enter in your expenses. So for phone expenses, the category is phone expenses. And then the expense type is phone. Then you can go to the Amount tab and enter the amount that you are allowed to expense for your cell phone. From there, you'll click on the Charge Allocations under Ceiling link, and then click on the magnifying glass in the charge type box to select Cell Phone Billable. Once you've completed this, you can save and continue your expense report. And then add your receipts as we've done before, or after submitting. So to add your receipts one last time, you'll click on the Workflow button in the bottom right-hand corner of the Manage Expense Report box. From there, you will find the line that says Employee Attach Attachment. In this case, it's going to be expense receipt. You'll click on that line and then click on Upload Attachment File. From there, you'll be able to browse your computer for the correct file and then click Upload. And then it will show you that your upload was successful by saying Status Completed in the status column. One more thing I'm going to go over is to show you how to find your other expense reports, as well as understand a little bit more about the workflow section and how it can tell you more about the status of your expense report. So first I'm going to go over that. The first few lines that say employee are things that need to be completed by you in order to move your expense report forward. If any of these lines do not say completed, your supervisor will not be able to approve your expense report. The line that says primary supervisor approve is the line where your supervisor will approve your expense report. When it says completed, then the business office line will say pending in the status box. Once that has been completed, finance will then be able to complete their portion of the process. Generally, an expense report will not say processed until finance has fully reviewed it and completed their portion of their tasks. So on the finance completes this portion on Wednesdays. So your expense report could say under review, even if the business office status says completed and they've approved your expense report, and then it will say processed once finance has completed their task. In order to find old expense reports that you maybe need to make corrections on or would like to check on, you can use the query button. Right now, and then click on the query tab. Right now, it's searching only this one single expense report, so I'm going to delete that. In the query condition box, you can type in your last name, so that I'm going to do that, and then you'll click on the query button. it'll then bring up all of your old expense reports, and you can scroll through there and find the one that you are looking for. I don't have anything else. Are there any questions?
Yes, we have several questions. Alex, if you'd be able to help answer this, can you review what type of attachments are acceptable within the Costpoint system?
So, like in the legacy Deltek system, PDF is probably the easiest for you to attach and also for us to view on our computers here. However, multiple different types of attachments such as Word documents and Excel spreadsheets, JPEG, I believe even GIF is an option for you to submit. So whatever your heart desires, whatever is most convenient for you. However, PDF will still always be very, very welcome.
And a question for the both of you guys. This is about also attachments. Are you able to submit multiple attachments for one expense?
To attach them separately? No. As into, so if you have one expense line and you keep attaching more and more attachments to it, I don't think that that is going to work. You'll probably just overwrite your previous submission. However, if you want to attach a single PDF document that contains multiple receipts to one line, that will work.
And that function is done usually if you're able to consolidate all the documents into one PDF document. Okay, there was a question about the weekly cycle for expense report processing. Just want to clarify, generally speaking, on Wednesdays at noon, whatever has been approved by supervisors and the business office at that time gets pulled in by our finance team on Wednesday afternoons, East Coast time. This takes about 3 days. So on Friday, payment is released, which means that depending on your banking institution, you could receive payment as early as Friday, but as late also as Tuesday. If it is Tuesday COB and you have not received payment and it shows that it's been processed through, please reach out to getexpensereport@afsc.com because it is likely that we can help out with figuring out what the issue might have been. Sam, can you please explain if there is a way to delete in the system? If not, how should they handle those if they would like to create a new one?
So currently, right now, there is no way to delete an expense report that is saved. So I'm going to show you how you can kind of remedy that if you'd like to resubmit or retry your expense report if you're not reusing the old one. So in the old expense report, you'll open it. If it's in the table view here, you'll click on the Form button up in the Manage Expense Report bar. And then in your expenses, you'll have to delete each one of them. I find it easiest to use the table view to do this. So then there, in the claimed expenses bar here, there's the new copy and then the delete button. When you click the delete button, it'll show you a red X next to the expense that you're deleting. So you can also use the hold down control button and click function as well to delete any other expenses. So I'm going to delete all of these expenses and then click Save and Continue. This will also turn your expense report into a draft and it will no longer be submitted. And that is how you can avoid any errors for double claiming lodging and per diem meal.
Thank you very much, Sam. We have some questions about a step-by-step guide. I do want to confirm that the most up-to-date guide that we currently have is in the upper left corner of this screen. However, on the AFSCE employee splash page, we do have from the first round of trainings the best recording that we have for that, and as well as the most up-to-date user guide. After all of these training sessions are done next week, we will be looking through to update the user guides for any additional requested expense types, as well as selecting the best session from this round as well. And once again, that is the AFSCE employee splash page. Currently, those are our only questions. We're going to give it a couple more minutes that will stay within this in case someone wants to issue any more questions to us for us to capture. But again, if you have any additional questions about the Costpoint system or any errors that you are facing, please send an email to costpointhelp@afsc.com. If it is about the expense report process or requirements, please send one to getexpensereport@afsc.com. We do realize that some folks have submitted some tickets in over the last couple of weeks with the implementation. However, please know that we do have teams that are actively working on touching every single one of these requests and tickets as they come through. We'll also be sure to provide those email addresses once more in the chat. Aside from that, we thank you very, very much for your time today, and we hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you very much.